Welcome and good morning. My name is Ben Scharf and I will be presenting my English summative today. My TED Talk selection was called What's the Next Window into Our Universe and was presented by Andrew Connolly. Connolly is a professor at the University of Washington and leads a data management group for the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope, which works specifically on developing software to analyze the data that will be collected by the telescope. Connolly's principal fields of research are focusing on analyzing large astronomical data sets to study the formation and evolution of galaxies and cosmology using techniques such as photometric redshifts. Connolly talks a lot about the advancements in space technology and astronomy during his presentation. The Large Synoptic Survey Telescope, or the LSST for short, is a massive telescope that will end up replacing the Hubble telescope as early as the year of 2022. The main purpose for this telescope is to give spectacular details of our universe and to help address some uncertainties of the universe that the Hubble telescope cannot. Not only is the LSST a technological triumph for deep space exploration, it will also provide public data every year, some 6 million gigabytes of pictures and data that will be publicly accessible. Professor Connolly takes an in-depth look at what the LSST means for the present, but also the future of some of the most popular technology in society today. Here's a short clip.
Because one image from the LSST is equivalent to 3,000 images from the Hubble Space Telescope. Each image 3.5 degrees on the sky, 7 times the width of the full moon. Well, how do you capture an image at this scale? Well, you build the largest digital camera in history, using the same technology you find in the cameras in your cell phone or in the digital cameras you can buy in the high street, but now at a scale that's 5.5 feet across, about the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, where one image is 3 billion pixels. So if you wanted to look at an image in its full resolution, just a single LSST image, it would take about 1,500 high-definition TV screens. And this camera will image the sky, taking a new picture every 20 seconds, constantly scanning the sky, so every 3 nights we'll get a completely new view of the skies above Chile.
Professor Connolly touches many themes during his presentation, but one that stood out was how the discovery and learning are essential for the future of technology and society. Connolly stresses this theme in his informative presentation by talking about the mysterious behaviors of the universe and the LSST that will help explore the deeper space and inform not only scientists but also the public about the telescope's findings. Andrew used many oral presentation skills to emphasize this theme while also informing the audience, like using humor to actively engage his audience. Connolly also breaks his presentation into several parts, all revolving around one central idea. By doing so, he creates intermediate conclusions during his passages and presentation, which in turn creates a higher intrigue level from the audience. Because of this technique, Connolly is able to teach more of his audience because more of the audience will be intrigued by the way he keeps on setting up a conclusion. These conclusions help his theme because more of the audience is learning based on their intrigue level. Connolly also does a great job talking about his research. Instead of assuming that the audience already knows about the background information that he's doing and the research that he has already done, and just cutting to the chase, he instead develops his thoughts and ideas clearly and explains the information to the audience. He often uses analogies to help the audience understand his points. Connolly uses this technique to help him teach the audience because he explains his research to everyone on a relatable level. He is not condescending, but rather encouraging, as he kindly and precisely explains his research to those who are uneducated on the matter. This helps his theme because he clearly explains how the discoveries they will make will help them improve technologies like cameras and how it could even predict the future of our solar system. Connolly also speaks at a very good pace for the audience to listen to, and that helps greatly improve the intrigue level from the audience. He teaches more of the audience by speaking at an appropriate pace for the audience. Another great oral presentation device he uses to help teach the audience is that he speaks with confidence. He does not sound nervous and thus creates a trusting nature from the audience because not only does he know what he's talking about, but he also sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I found this last presentation skill to be the most effective and important because someone who's doing an informative presentation should sound confident in themselves. Once they demonstrate that they are comfortable and confident in how they speak, it makes the audience confident that they are not being ill-informed. It is very important for the speaker to have confidence because it demonstrates their knowledge. If the speaker is nervous, the presentation will tend to be boring, even if it is on an interesting subject. This last skill greatly helps his theme because at the end of the day, he is trying to sell this project to the audience. Teaching and informing and informing is greatly altered by the difference in confidence by the teacher or speaker. Connolly is very well organized and rehearsed for the presentation, and his hard work and dedication for space is greatly exemplified through his fantastic oral skill presentations. It is very obvious to the audience that he is passionate about what he does because of the time he has been devoted to not only studies, but also the effort to create such a wonderful presentation. Because Connolly uses all of these oral presentation skills, he keeps the intrigue level at a peak level from the audience, and also informs on a massive amount of previously unknown knowledge. His theme is expressed through his presentation skills and his devoted knowledge on astronomy.
Telescopes like the Large Synoptic Survey Telescope, or the LSST, possibly the most boring name ever for one of the most fascinating experiments in the history of astronomy. In fact, proof, if you should need it, that you should never allow a scientist or an engineer to name anything, not even your children.
In Andrew Connolly's presentation, there is no evidence suggesting any major societal conflicts or controversies involved with the production of the LSST and space research as a whole. He does not speak specifically about the negative impact on society, but instead the impact on the knowledge and future technology, which can only be good for our future. Although Connolly does not look at any negative impacts on the views of society, it does not mean that there aren't any. Everyone has their own opinions and are entitled to them, which will always create differing opinions, creating conflicts of interest on such an interesting topic. The first example of a possible conflict with Connolly's LSST topic and research presentation is that some people may believe that this is money that could be spent in better ways that could better benefit society. This conflict is quite far-fetched for this presentation because there are far many more topics of which money is being spent on that probably doesn't deserve it. I think the fact that Connolly did not comment on this conflict greatly improved his presentation, because a conflict like this would seem absurdly off-topic and inappropriate for this informative presentation. An example of a conflict that could be whether or not the money could be spent in a better way, instead of being used to advance technology, it could be used to advance technology and reduce waste on Earth. It could be used to develop renewable resources now, which in turn would help the researchers for the LSST in the future. Although a satisfactory excuse, the scientists working on the LSST could easily refute such a claim by stating that the technology that they have created will actually end up being beneficial to Earth as they observe the patterns in dark energy and dark matter. Although far-fetched, this conflict was left to rest by Connolly in order to better his presentation. Another example of conflict and controversy in Connolly's presentation is that the famous Hubble telescope is being replaced. There is some stir because of this, because some scientists do feel that the LSST is not necessary, as the Hubble telescope is still doing very well. This controversy is also creating some mixed feelings from the public, as one of the main goals of the LSST is to find an Earth-like planet. Some feel that the cost of this telescope is very expensive, and there is a big risk at not finding such a planet. The biggest conflict is that they're worried that there may be a failure of this telescope, which many people, including scientists, feel that this is not worth the time or risk because they are worried of the defeat and a waste of time that the LSST could bring. It is well known that the Hubble telescope is currently operational and very beneficial for deep space exploration, so many may wonder why valuable money and research is being spent on an object which already works properly and efficiently. This conflict is subtly talked about by Connolly. He speaks of the pros of the LSST and how much better it is than the Hubble. He argues that the Hubble is outdated and is not nearly as efficient as the LSST, which will map the night sky faster and will contain clearer images, and lastly, will also be a valuable tool for the future technology and research into space. Because Connolly does not blatantly talk about the conflict, but instead speaks of the pros about the LSST, he improves his presentation by not talking about the specific conflicts and instead persuades the audience to think that the LSST is an important piece of technology that will bring great things. The conflicts and controversies for Connolly's presentation are existent but are detrimental to his presentation. The conflicts are fairly far-fetched and are mainly monetary and are also conflict of interest type issues, which would be foolish to mention. Because Connolly remains on topic and looks specifically at the pros and positives of the LSST, he positively persuades the audience to see his point of view, which is an extremely positive view on this technology.
It took 3 years to find just 42 supernovae because the telescopes that we build could only survey a small part of the sky. With the LSST, we get a completely new view of the skies above Chile every 3 nights. In its first night of operation, it will find 10 times the number of supernovae used in the discovery of dark energy. This will increase by 1,000 within the first 4 months. 1.5 million supernovae by the end of its survey.
Connolly does a great job presenting his topic by staying on track and using great presentation skills. His presentation was very informative but also entertaining and interesting. He clearly develops his themes and ideas while also speaking at a relatable level with the audience. Connolly's presentation is also improved because he does not talk about the controversies surrounding the LSST and its research efforts and grants. Instead, he talks about the positives, which in turn make his ideas and points positives for his overall presentation. Connolly represents himself and the LSST in an appropriate manner and a positive manner, which was probably his original goal the entire time, to persuade his audience into believing that the telescope has nothing but great things to provide for society and the future of space technology and technology in modern society. In conclusion, Connolly leaves his audience well informed and content, believing there is good research being done to help the future of space knowledge and the human race. Thank you for listening.